Hello guys, I hope everybody is doing good. We're going to be talking about the last 1 month strategy for your upcoming SCR exam in the October month. Okay, I know everybody is preparing properly. They must have been giving a lot of time on a daily basis on weekends to prepare for the exam. This 1 month strategy I have created from the thought process that most of the content is already covered. Now you're going to be doing one final leg of revision and you're going to be looking at solving mock papers. Okay, I'll also be giving you an insight on how do you analyze your mock papers. So stay tuned till the end of this video. Let us go towards this first agenda, what all things we are going to be covering. So how many mocks are we supposed to complete? What should be the timeline for the mocks? How should be your entire revision? Okay, there could be like first revision, and again we are also going to be talking about what is going to be my final revision. Okay, we're going to be talking about that, and very interesting, how do we analyze the mocks? Okay, and please remember the actual exam right now in the upcoming October attempt is going to be of 90 questions. Okay, 90 questions, and within that 90 questions you will have two case studies. Okay, so everybody please remember that 90 questions and two case studies. So let us go how you should plan. So what I have done is I have taken the last 1 month. Okay, so over here whatever you are seeing is actually days. Okay, so I'll just go back. So over here my analysis is going to be for the last 30 days. Okay, so let us start. So what I've done is I've asked every student. Okay, I'm basically assuming that they have already done some reading, some content watching, they've seen the videos. If they're accessing the videos, they've solved some question bank. Now what ideally they should be doing is they should be picking up one book, okay, and try to complete it in 1.5 day to maximum 2 days. Okay, so in the first 2 days pick up the first chapter and make sure that you do it properly, because this is the chapter which makes a lot of students fail in the actual exam. Okay, so this is an important revision step for you. Then you can pick up the next sustainability chapter, slightly smaller chapter. So I've given almost 1 day for it. Okay, next is you have the climate risk chapter, again a small chapter, basically an interesting chapter talking about the physical risk and the transition risk that we are going to face because of the climate change. So that chapter I've given almost 1.5 day to around 2 days, depending upon how you complete things. Now in this case, what ideally you should be doing, okay, you should be reading the GARB book. Okay, the GARB SCR book. By default one reading has to happen. If you have already solved any questions before, I'm not talking about the GARB sample paper, I'm talking about the chapter wise questions. Okay, go and look at all the wrong questions. Okay, all the wrong questions that you could not solve correctly. Okay, so pick up all the wrong questions for that chapter and look at those wrong questions also. That is how you are expected to do the revision. Okay, so we have covered the first 3 chapters. I'm going to do in a similar manner the remaining chapters. So chapter number 4, slightly important, not very important, but slightly important, and easy chapter, not very conceptual driven. Okay, then you have green and sustainability. A lot of terms are available in this chapter, so I'm going to just make a star to it. Make sure that you do this revision properly. Then you have the chapter number 6, which is double star, very important. A lot of students who prepare for this exam, they end up facing challenge either in chapter number 1, chapter number 6, and chapter number 7 in the exam. Okay, so that is why this chapter becomes important. When you're reading the chapter, make sure that you go through the material which is available along with the final questions of your GARB book also. And if there is any summary PPT or something available, which generally we give, make sure that you read the summary PPT of this chapter properly. Next, again the chapter number 7. Okay, now chapter number 7 is also important, which you should definitely make sure that you're good in preparation for this chapter. Testable chapter, lengthy chapter also. So, and a lot of SSPs, RCPs being discussed in this chapter, which can make it slightly complicated. So if you feel that you're not comfortable with this chapter, what I would suggest, when you're going to solve the mocks, in those mocks also you need time for revision. So focus more on this chapter. Okay, net zero is slightly easy chapter, not very problematic. Then in the last 2 days, I'm making a basic assumption that you have some time, because I have created the structure of two days, but the last 2 days I'm assuming that you will be able to pick up the last two chapters. Okay, these are the two new additions that have been added, and out of that also, as per my understanding, chapter number 10 is going to be more important. That means transition planning is going to be more important as compared to the previous chapter, which is climate and nature risk assessment. Okay, so that's the overall plan. So in the first 15 days, try to do a full end-to-end revision of the content, okay, which should cover your reading of the GARP Treasure book, okay, import all the important concepts. So I'll be coming out with video in the future which talks about important concepts for your SCR upcoming exam. Okay, make sure that you are going through those concepts also properly. Next, uh, there is you should also look at the wrong questions that you had faced, or some difficult questions that you have faced while you're preparing for the chapter wise questions. Next, in the last 15 days, you should do your final revision. Not exactly a final revision, but before giving mock, you need to read something, right? So 2 days, do an end-to-end full revision, then go for your first mock, and very, very important, do a proper analysis of mock. I'll be talking about that also. How should you look at the mock? Okay. Next is this is where you complete your first mock. Okay, in first 3 days, you're completing your first mock. Okay, then you're doing one full revision. Okay, and then go for the second mock. But now please, my dear students, what ideally the normal scenario is that a lot of students feel that I will be perfect and then I'll go for the exam. Don't do that. Fix up your date. That's the reason I said your 18th day, okay, should be your exam first mock day. Okay, do not take the pressure that, or do not think that I'll complete everything properly and then I'll give the marks. It is not going to help. Focus should be on solving more questions, and focus should be on understanding which concept it is coming from and what topic it is coming from and why it is wrong for me. That should be your thought process. Okay, so you have done the 2-day full revision, then you have done the mock number 2 and your proper analysis of mock. Again, the third mock revision, given the third mock and the analysis. Okay, now over here, till this point, the 3 mocks that the students are solving ideally would be if you're my student, I have given you already 3 mocks, so you can solve those 3 mocks properly. And then the last mock you can do is for the GARP sample paper. Please make sure that you do not solve the latest 2024 GARP sample paper before. Okay, now only challenge with the GARP sample paper is that the chapter number 9 and 10 is not added into that. In our mocks, it is added. Okay, so that is one big challenge that you're going to face. So revision, okay, for the next 2 days, and then go and solve the GARP sample paper, and then you do a mock analysis. This mock analysis is going to be very, very important. Okay, please make sure that you do it properly. I'll tell you why. And then there is 3 days before the exam. Okay, do a proper final leg revision. Okay, and when you are doing one interesting point that I forgot talking about is there is a required reading, okay, which you can find on GARP website. Okay, and in that, chapter number 4 and chapter number 6. Chapter number 6 is, I think so, TCFD disclosure, some formula based part. Okay, so these two by default you have to do, okay, for your exam preparation. Okay, students who have already joined us, they have got the summary PPT for each of the required readings. So focus more on chapter number 4 and chapter number 6. Okay, and do your final revision and then go for the actual exam. So if you follow this plan, by default you're revising the book for 3 times. Okay, the GARP book properly 3 times. Okay, now how should you solve the mocks? Okay, whenever you're solving the mock, have a piece of paper with you. Okay, and make a note. Okay, how you're going to make a note? Look at this. Okay, see, when you're going and solving the question, there will be certain questions which you're very, very sure. So give them a sign of tick, so that you know that first question I was very confident, I solved it properly. Okay, there might be certain questions, okay, which was slightly difficult. Okay, you don't know whether the answer is right or wrong, but the concept was also unique, so you should be marking them a star. That means you are going to go through that concept by default in the future. Okay, there might be certain questions, okay, which are very easy for you. When you initially saw the question, you thought that it is easy. You started looking at the question, but then you realize that the question is slightly tricky and it is taking more than the justifiable time of around 1.5 or 1 minute, 2 minutes. Okay, so you can give them a separate marking, and you should be doing it for all the 90 questions. Okay, and there might be certain questions which you are not sure at all what is this question about, or what you're not sure about which concept it is connected to, or you're confused, so you can mark them separately. Now when you're doing the analysis of mock, okay, a lot of time people are only looking at that, okay, out of 80 how much correct I've got. Definitely you have to look at that, but your focus should be on questions which were actually taking a lot of time. Okay, look at why it is taking a lot of time. Is the question itself so lengthy? If it is so lengthy, then in the actual exam I'll not do these kind of questions. Then there are certain questions which are very different and very unique. Make sure that you go through those concepts properly, and the questions you did not understand, look at the concepts, go back to the concepts and look at those concepts properly. That is what your strategy should be. Okay, this is how you should solve the mock papers. Okay, and when you're doing the analysis also, like I said, you have to bifurcate your question bank into different aspect, right? So the first aspect is your question which you are able to solve. So when you're giving a mock paper, the first is those questions which are easy to solve. Okay, then second, there is certain questions which are very unique and different, you marked it as star. Then certain questions which you have identified it is easy but it is taking time, and certain questions which are basically question mark. Okay, so like I said, your focus should be more on this part, so you have to focus on this and this in the first instance. Okay, now when you have 90 questions, and if suppose you have done the marking for all the 90 questions, okay, what you have to look at it is, okay, how many questions fall into this category. Let us take an example that out of 80 questions, there were certain around 15 questions which were actually unique and different. Okay, there were like around 10 questions which were which you were not sure about, so you have just highlighted it. And suppose let us assume that you got around 45 questions correct. 45 questions correct. Okay, so it's like around 45, 55, 65, and the remaining questions were slightly lengthy for you. Okay, so it could be like around 25 more questions. Okay, so 25 questions over here. So first you have to go and look at, okay, those 15, like I said, you have to focus on 15 and 10 questions, these type of questions. Identify which chapter it is from, which page it is from, which concept it is from. Okay, go and do that, read the concept once again properly. Okay, next and very interesting part would be that these different questions, different concepts, okay, you have to understand that when I was reading the same concept, why didn't I think about this concept from this perspective? Okay, so you have to think that way also. Further, the 25 questions which were very lengthy, I had already highlighted this, that you have to look at those questions and ask this question, why is it so lengthy for me? Is it because my speed is very low, or is it because there is some calculation which I am not able to do, like that? So you have to ask this question, why it is taking so much time. Is there a way I can cut short? Okay, or is there a formula, is there a small information which I need to remember to make sure that I am able to solve this question faster? Because see, you have to think from the perspective that out of these 25 questions, okay, which are slightly tricky, time taking and all, even if you are able to get 10 correct from this, which generally you will have a good chance of doing it. Okay, you are in a better spot now to clear the exam. Okay, because out of this unique questions and doubtful question, you might get 5 correct somewhere. Okay, 4 to 5 correct. So you will be able to reach at a very decent score of 860, which I feel is good number to clear the exam. Okay, out of 90, 60 is a very good number to clear the exam, provided it is from all the chapters. Okay, and please note that there is also going to be a case study based question into this. Okay, where one case study, 3-4 questions are connected to that case study. Okay, important things to remember when you are preparing for the exam. Okay, chapter number 6 and chapter number 4, I have already talked about required reading. Make sure that you're doing it properly. Okay, this part very important. When you're doing the analysis for GARP sample paper, make sure that you, whichever question is there in the GARP sample paper, you go to that concept properly, and also whichever options are there, go through those options also properly and see whether it is from a different concept or not. Okay, read the GARP sample paper, GARP book 2 times. So if you follow the process that I have highlighted, you will be able to do it for 3 times. Okay, focus on important chapters for each concepts and each chapter. Important chapters, I've given the marking for start for important chapter at least at the start of the video. And liquidity ratios are also important, which is not explicitly mentioned in the book, but in the exam they have been testing that. Liquidity ratio, I think so, was from your chapter number 6 or 7. Okay. And where they were talking about credit risk, market risk, and all of that. So over there is a line of liquidity ratio. But in the exam, they're asking you current ratio, quick ratio, like that. Okay. So be ready to understand, complete that content also properly. Historically, what has been the past percentage? So when you look at the numbers, so it has been above 50%. Okay. Briefly, it had gone to 57% also. So what my suggestion would be, if you prepare properly, even if you do it properly for the last 1 month, there is a good chance that you can clear the exam. Okay. So 55% is the average which you can assume that is a rate, that is a passing percentage that they follow. So that is a very good number as compared to the other. FRM has around 40 to 45% rate. Even CFA has that around rate. So comparatively, this exam is slightly better. So do not lose hope in the last 1 month. Prepare properly, focus properly, and you should be able to clear the exam. Okay. So I hope everybody is good. In case you need any help, you can reach us on this number. Whatever is possible from our side will definitely help you out. Okay. You can scan the QR code also. And thank you again. Thank you very much for joining. Hope everybody does good and properly for the exam. Bye. Take care.